Hey everyone, today's video is recorded on my action camera, so whatever the quality ends up being, I do apologize. I want to speak about a lesson that I learned recently. It's pretty obvious to guys that are more experienced, but if you're starting out making videos, this is something that will transform the quality and the look. It might not be immediately apparent to the people watching it, but it'll definitely be a subconscious quality change.
I can feel my body cold against the concrete, but I can't seem to get enough. My mind is fixed on what it wants. I just let you beat me. Looks can be deceiving. Let you get the best of me. In bed with my worst enemy. This is a no.
Okay, so my camera's free. I did a video about variable ND filters the other day, and the reason why you need a variable ND filter is the 180 degree rule. The 180 degree rule is a rule that was made up in Hollywood a long time ago, and they judged that if you set your shutter speed to double your frame rate, it'll give a motion blur that is natural. That'll give it a cinematic, natural look that is like comfortable to the eye. To give you a background story, when I got my Fujifilm, it was quite overwhelming getting such a fancy camera, and I stopped shooting manual completely and I just went to auto. Then recently I started to think to myself, why is it so important to follow the 180 degree rule? I started to do it, so I invested in an ND filter and I set my camera to, I'm in 25 frames per second now, so I set it to a 50 shutter speed. What that does is it gives it a natural motion blur, and the more I do it, the more I realize these little quality changes, these little things that we do that improve the quality just that little bit every single time, those things are subconscious to the viewer, but overall someone will say to you, sure, that looks very cinematic, wow, that's so professional. And the reason is because we are paying attention to these tiny things. Okay, so why would it be bad for somebody to shoot in auto, specifically for video? I want to start by talking about the light metering. So my camera has these light metering settings, and most cameras have these in some way or the other. And your camera will meter the light, whether it's a spot metering, like a semi-spot metering, I don't know the technical terms for these, a general metering, and a metering, like a multi-metering, and then a more like completely general, depending on the metering that you have set there. If you're in auto, if you've set everything to auto, you're at the mercy of that metering. It will try to expose your image according to that metering, and regardless of whether the shutter speed is too low, the ISO is too high, your aperture's like super closed without any depth of field, it won't care about that. All it'll care about is whether it's exposing the image according to the algorithm set on that meter setting. So when you're in video, that becomes very important when you consider the 180 rule that I've just mentioned, because if you're running at auto shutter speed and it's trying to expose something in a very low light situation, it's going to shift that shutter speed to lower than the frame rate, and you're going to start to get a stutter effect. And I'll put a video that I made, accidentally did the stutter effect. It looked cool, but it's not something you always want in your video. And this is why you need to shoot auto. So I currently have my video set to 25 frames per second. And so I want to set my shutter speed to 50. So I run, and this is how my camera works, and then I want to bring it down to 50, 1/50 shutter speed. So once you've sorted out your shutter speed, that is going to give you that cinematic blur. It's going to give your videos a nice professional edge. The next thing that was a revelation to me and made me realize, you know what, I need to force myself to get out of shooting in auto. You know, I got into the habit of shooting auto because it's so easy for vlogging, but you know, the more I do corporate shoots, I need to be more professional, you know. So the next thing is on my camera, the ISO settings over here, is your ISO, or ISO, or however you say it. That setting, if you're running it at auto, again, if you've got your shutter speed set and now you get into a low light situation, it's going to shove that ISO right up to its absolute maximum. Now if you've got a Sony a7 III, that might not be such an issue, but for most cameras that can be an issue. You know, mine goes up to, like, it can go all the way up to something like 50 something thousand ISO, which is great in an emergency, but it's not going to give you a very professional look. So you want to be able to limit how high that ISO goes, and maybe rather open the aperture. You know, obviously the darker it gets, or you realize, listen, I'm not willing to go over 6400 ISO. I need to go fetch my light and light this situation up. So that's another thing that can really impact the professionalism of your videos, because you're going to reduce grain. The video is not going to break up so much. The more grain there's in my video, when I start grading, it gets even worse. So limiting how high your ISO goes, even though our cameras are so incredible these days, definitely will add that professional edge to your footage. And then lastly, not so important, is the auto aperture. If you're running at an auto aperture and you want to get that nice background blur, you just aren't going to get it, because it's going to keep closing the aperture. At nighttime, it's going to open it up wide up, but even then, you just don't know what the camera algorithm is going to do. It's a great starting point. If you're a beginner, I recommend shooting in auto, because it's just going to make life easier for you, but you need to take those training wheels off as soon as you can. Thanks so much for watching my video. I hope this video just gave you a bit of insights, especially if you're a beginner, to force yourself to get out of shooting auto and become more of a pro and shoot manual. It's definitely transformed the way I shoot and transformed the way my videos look. Even if it sometimes is a little bit subconscious, it definitely is something that affects the way people see your video and see you as a professional. Please subscribe to my channel, please like this video, share it with your friends, and I'll see you in the next one.
Follow me, let me waste your time. Set up, do some stupid shit. Take a seat, let me waste your time. Solving summertime. Thought that I knew better. Keep falling for your innocence, acting like you're into me. I know this is hopeless, moving in slow motion, trying to control my thoughts, but I can't stop our body talk. This is a no-go, I just can't take hold. This is a danger zone, pack up and get me home. This is a no-go, I just can't take hold. This is a danger zone, pack up and get me. So put your hand in mine, follow me, let me waste your time. Set up, do some stupid shit. Take a seat, let me waste your time. Set up, so